Rose said, which wasn't entirely true. "And mind you keep that long nose out of other people's business, Wayne, or I might forget about that free drink. Shoo!" It wasn't the first time she'd had to remind the old wolf to respect Alpha Team's privacy, and Wayne wasn't the only shifter she'd had to slap on the muzzle that way. More than a few people came to the full moon in the hopes of getting a glimpse of one of the famous firefighters of Alpha Fire Team. It wasn't just that Alpha Team saved lives every day, although that was impressive enough. It was what they were, as much as what they did, that attracted curious tourists from far and wide. Dragon, Griffin, Pegasus, Sea Dragon, Unicorn. Even among shifters they were rare and powerful. And their leader was the rarest and most powerful of them all. He was also, unfortunately, the most elusive, which was exactly why Rose was closing her pub at the most profitable time of the week. Shooing out the last few stragglers, Rose flipped the sign outside the pub to closed. She waited, tapping her foot, until her innate empathic ability told her that there was no one lingering hopefully outside. Then she opened the door again, spun the sign back to open, and dashed for the bar. She barely made it in time. Even as she slid back into her usual position behind the taps, the door opened softly. For everyone else, even Rose, the old iron hinges always squealed. But somehow he never made a breath of noise when he entered. And there he stood, on the precise stroke of 8 o'clock, as always. Straight-backed, contained and controlled, formal in his day uniform of charcoal trousers and pale gray shirt. The warm light from the pub's scattered lamps caught the gold thread in the East Sussex Fire and Rescue badge embroidered on his sleeve. Fire Commander Ash, the Phoenix Eternal, the most powerful shifter in Europe. Rose's heart thudded against her ribs, so loud that she was certain he'd be able to hear it in the silent bar. As ever, Ash made the whole world tilt and refocus around him. It wasn't his physical looks. Oh, he was well built enough, especially for a man in his late 40s, but still nowhere near as big or burly as many shifter males. There wasn't anything unusual about Ash's coloring either. Slightly tanned, weathered skin, gray streaking his short, sandy brown hair. There was nothing out of the ordinary about him at all, except for the intense, leashed power burning behind those deep brown eyes. He was the Phoenix, not a, but the. Rose didn't know exactly how it worked, but there was only ever one Phoenix at a time in all the world. Even ordinary humans could sense the raging inferno hidden in the heart of that quiet, unassuming figure. To Rose's shifter senses, Ash blazed with alpha power. He was so bright, she could hardly bear to look at him, yet so compelling that she couldn't bear to look away. He was the most magnetic man she'd ever met. "Not our mate," whispered her inner Swan. "Ash!" Rose said brightly, drowning out her animal's unwelcome comment. "Come in, come in." He normally moved with utter assurance, but tonight he hesitated on her doorstep. His piercing gaze swept the deserted room, pausing briefly on the corner usually occupied by Alpha Team. For some reason, Ash was the one person Rose's empathic sense didn't work on, but she didn't need psychic powers to be able to tell that Ash was baffled by his team's absence. Possibly no one else would have been able to read that from his still, remote face, but Rose had known him for a long time. "I don't know where everyone is," Rose said, too quickly. "Maybe there's some sort of event going on. I've been bored stiff. Come keep me company, will you?" Moving as gingerly as a cat on unfamiliar territory, Ash approached the bar. He clasped his hands behind his back, feet setting in parade rest. He had the air of a man who suspected a surprise party might be about to spring out at him. "The usual?" Rose asked, already reaching for a glass. Ash's chin dipped in a fractional nod. "Thank you." Rose poured his drink. As always, Ash slid a 20 across the bar in return. Rose had given up arguing with him about this years ago.